We are live. Just got to wait for the Facebook rooms to get connected. Got to let it breathe, as Boss Man Chad likes to say. Just got to wait for the screen check marks.
Looks like we're good. Welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the Dove Valley Deep Divers. I'm your host, Kenneth Booker, and today with me is our co-host, Mr. Erick Trickel. How you doing today, Erick?
Doing good. Pretty tired. Weather stinks. It's snowing, and it's a wet snow, which means the roads are going to be slick. So I'm doing good. Tired. Excited for this game on Saturday or on Sunday. Sorry, to get the Broncos back on that winning side of things after this 2 game skid that they've had, and I think they have a really good shot this weekend.
Definitely. We've also had some snow here in Colorado. It was only for like a day or two, then it got beautiful again. But I've been looking at all season tires, trying to figure out if I should get snow tires, all season tires. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, that
All
game
season
was.
tires, all season tires are great. That's what we have on our car. My wife and I absolutely love them.
Or maybe I have to get it. I got a little account set aside for some tires. So, um, yeah, last week's game, I guess, has kind of been beaten to death, but we fought to KC in that heartbreaker. Played them very well. We played them very well all the time. I think Patrick Mahomes only has like maybe 1 or 2 games where he's like over 300 yards and like 3 touchdowns. Most of them are 180 yards and a touchdown, but it's mostly a team effort when they beat us. Turnovers, running backs.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was pretty rough. One good thing, silver lining out of it, we found out Bonix is ready to play the Chiefs like from game one of playing them. It's not going to be a growing process, I don't feel like. He also gained a lot of respect from their star players. Travis Kelce was on this podcast earlier this week, I think, and he was talking with his brother Jason Kelce, saying, "Hey, man, Bonix can sling it. Bonix can really play out there. That guy's a ball player, essentially." And then Patrick Mahomes coming up to Sean Payton after the game and saying, "Hey, man, you got one. You got one right here." And talking to Bo Nix, saying, "Hey, this is going to be essentially a rivalry for years to come." What are your takeaways from that? The positives of Bo Nix and how the Chiefs, who are Super Bowl champions, and how they respect him already.
Yeah, I mean it's always a good thing to get that kind of respect from somebody. Unlike when um who was it, the Panthers, after that game when Sean Payton was like, "Oh, we know they're a bad offense.
Oh
They're a
yeah.
bad defense." Like it's always nice when you get that respect. You do have to wonder some partially is not everybody is like Sean Payton where he will tell you how it is. Some of them will kind of, they'll play the political game of football of we're going to be nice and pleasant all the time. We're going to, show that kind of respect and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, but when you watch over the game, this was one of Bo Nix's more promising games. Like he's games, but this
Mm-hmm.
is one that I think was one of the more promising ones with what we saw from him, with how he was making his reads and how he was playing the game. It stinks because the offense did stall for most of the game. I mean, they only had those 2 touchdown drives, and then to the end of the game, there was in my opinion here, the bad decision to play to run out the clock, which that is fine, but to play for the field goal instead of moving the ball well and going for a touchdown. I mean, you're an aggressive team. I did a whole article about this. Sean Payton shouldn't have done that 2 weeks in a row, where 1 week the defense changed up what they were doing from being aggressive, and the Baltimore Ravens, blew them out of the building. And then we do that to close out the game against the Chiefs, and we walk out with a loss. Stay
Mm-hmm.
aggressive. But anyways, getting back on track here, is the way that he played it, the way that he dealt, the way he handled pressure. Because before, we were seeing him toss balls up that weren't perfect, weren't well timed, weren't well placed because of the footwork. We saw him be a little bit more consistent with his footwork when pressure was coming, and just seeing that growth, it's something to really be positive about, especially for somebody who was like me, who wasn't overly excited about the selection of him 12th overall.
Definitely, he's grown in this first half of the season like a player's grown over the first 3 years. I feel like he picks up his stuff pretty fast. He doesn't make mistakes. He make mistakes back like twice, whatever. He'll make the same mistake twice, but his learning curve and the way he is able to pick up stuff, it's not going to happen a third time.
Yeah.
His beautiful pass to Cortland Sutton on that touchdown, third down on that go route. He looked like he looked under, saw it was covered up, and then saw Sutton wide open to beat out McDuffie, who's an excellent cornerback in our league.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. And then it wasn't just like, I guess not coach speak, but player speak when Travis Kelce was talking about Bo Nix, because there was numerous expletives in that.
Yeah, and
his explanation, and it was a lot of passion, and like he truly believed it. So,
and I was gonna say, Travis Kelce, he's one of those ones. He says it how it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like especially on that podcast he does with his brother, he's never held back in what his opinions or what he has to say about other players, teams, coaches, refs, any of that. He just flat out says it. So that I take a little bit more than I do with what Patrick Mahomes has been more of that. I'm going to just kind of like stand in the middle, play both sides of the fence, not really do anything to anger anybody, and just, give that praise, deserved or not. But no, again, it was a really good game from Bo Nix, a very promising one, especially with how the season goes after here. They don't have a whole lot of challenging defenses left. I mean, they have the Chiefs again, they have the Chargers, and then the Browns defense depends on what version of them shows up. But outside of that, it's pretty easy defensively, especially this upcoming game, and especially in terms of the passing defenses that they're going to be playing. So we should see a strong finish for Bo Nix this season. I would not be surprised at all if he does well enough to win the Offensive Rookie of the Year. I think he's firmly in that conversation. Right now, I think he's second behind Jaden Daniels, but Jaden Daniels is on a downward track, whereas Bo Nix is on the upward track.
Definitely. Jaden Daniels did start off like extremely hot, and it seems like Bo is just picking up speed, and he's not slowing down. I noticed that like the last 4 or 5 games, he has over 200 yards passing. And what makes this performance so special, this last one against the Chiefs, is because of the level of defense he played.
Yeah,
it wasn't the Carolinas defense. It wasn't the Saints defense. It was legit guys, a legit team with pass rushers, guys coming up the middle. Chris Jones was getting handled pretty well by our boy Quinn Miners. So it was nice to see.
And going on that note, it's the Chiefs defense is a defense that has guys at every single level. Like sometimes you'll get a defense and they're tough just because they have those pass rushers, but not the greatest secondary. The Chiefs have those guys from front to back. And I mean, he played it very well. And on that point about Jaden Daniels on that downward track, I wish I knew where the tweet was. It might have been on Blue Sky where I saw it, but it was talking about how different Jaden Daniels has been since his rib injury. Complete polar opposites of what he's been doing.
Rib injuries are brutal.
Mm-hmm.
Just breathing hurts. Yep. We were talking about the snow earlier. It looked like Mr. Stu McPeak from was it the Mount Rushmore?
Mount Rushmore, yeah.
Yeah. He's probably the lead of the Mount Rushmore. How you doing, Stu? I think I got to meet you at the meet and greet. 20 inches of snow in Aurora. Wow, yeah, it's I'm a little more north of Aurora, closer to Boulder. We didn't get 20 inches, but it did have a constant snow throughout the night. It was just lucky our ground was warm enough to where it didn't really stick as much. Mm-hmm. It eventually did in the parking lots, maybe like 3 or 4, no, maybe 4 or 5 inches. But yeah, that's insane. 20 inches. Yeah, stay inside. That happens. And that's crazy, Stu. We got Samantha coming in here, Samantha McCurdy, or Sammy, as she likes to be called. Good afternoon, y'all. Let's home Bo, let's hope Bo knocks out the Falcons and Cousins like Tyson knocks out Jake Paul, huh? Let's go Broncos, baby. Yeah, that's going on tonight. Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. I think it's probably just the preliminaries, but it's on Netflix. They probably won't fly until
Did you see Mike Tyson slapped Jake Paul in the weigh-ins yesterday?
Yeah, he took it though.
He did.
He looked like he tried to hurt him. He didn't try to just like, it wasn't like a show thing. It looked like he. before
I
a fight,
mean,
Mike Tyson, you could be his brother, but he genuinely hates you before fights.
I don't care about boxing or any of that, but I hope Mike Tyson wins. I cannot stand Jake Paul like at all.
Yeah, what does everybody in the chat think? Does everybody does everybody think Jake Paul is going to win or Mike Tyson is going to win?
Oh man, I mean, not to go into it and get to and bring it back to Broncos football here in a second, but some of what Jake Paul is more known for throughout the years, it's just messy. But we have Phil McLaughlin coming in saying, "Good evening, Eric and Kenneth. You guys think we will be able to run Sunday? A fielder D is perfect for the way Peyton calls plays." Yes. Um, I'm not specifically run the ball. They do a pretty decent job against that. I mean, I think the Broncos will win some and lose some, but passing the ball, they play off coverage like 99.5% of the time, and they are fine giving up those underneath throws and just letting you just, dink and dunk, so to speak, your way down and not really allow those big plays. But their coverages can break a little bit and still allow those big plays. You do have to be cautious because both Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons are really good safeties, and they both have a pair of interceptions apiece. And then you have AJ Terrell, who's not quite the star corner that he was a couple years ago. He's kind of fallen off a little bit. He's allowing a positive 16.5 EPA in coverage, which is extremely high. And for defensive players, obviously, expected points added. Anything in the positives is bad for defensive players. Anything in the negatives is good because you want to keep the points from happening. So AJ Terrell has been playing poorly. So I think they'll have plenty of opportunities in the passing game and the running game. Again, I think they'll win some and lose some.
Okay. We got Stu coming in back here again. Hi, guys. Love the show. Hey, thank you, Stu. I really appreciate it. That's awesome for the super chat. And thank you for just coming in today. I haven't seen you in here since I started on the team with Eric here, but that's really awesome to have you on the show with us today. Hope you're doing well. So besides that, hope you're doing well. I tried to turn this thing off. I don't know why my phone was on. It just randomly came on. Anyway, so we're going to talk about the key matchups for this game starting off. So we got PS2 and we got our amazing secondary, PS2, Riley Moss, Jaquan McMillan, going up against Drake London and Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney's having a resurgence of a career. He didn't have amazing starting up, but he was a really promising young player when he played in Chicago. So Drake London, his last game, he had 12 targets for 8 receptions and 96 yards. Unfortunately, he didn't find the end zone, or fortunately for us, I guess. Darnell Mooney had 10 targets, 5 receptions for 94 yards. Both big games out of those guys. Both of them are extremely talented. I think PS2 can lock up Drake London. Riley should be up for the task with Mooney. And if not Riley, maybe Jaquan will be on that case too as well. But how do you see our secondary matching up with their receivers?
I think they match up really well. I'm with you. I think Surtain will do a great job against Drake London. I'm not really worried there. Darnell Mooney does worry me a little bit. He is that big play explosive element to that offense. And it's not just him attacking deep. He can get those shorter passes and make people miss and make something happen. I would keep Riley Moss on him for most of the game, just because he does have the movement skills and the long speed to really hang with him, which you don't have from Jaquan McMillan. He can handle those movement skills a little bit, but the faster guys have broken away from him a little bit, or as the season's gone on, he's been matched up against him. And this is a game where it might be a bit tougher to get McMillan on the field consistently because of the threat that Kyle Pitts is. You may want to change up what you're doing. You may want a little bit more Levi Wallace, who they're kind of using as that, in those dime packages a little bit. But you may want to go to him a little bit more because he has that size and to match up a little bit more with Kyle Pitts, whereas McMillan doesn't have that and could easily get boxed out by Kyle Pitts.
I think Kyle Pitts has like multiple, like back-to-back, like 3 games in a row or something with like over 55 yards or something as well. I'm not sure. I think I heard that earlier today. With Rodney Garcia brings up a point with, do you think Mooney's more like, you see him as like a Zay Flowers or a Worthy, like one of those speed demons? Because I feel like those are the guys we really have issues with.
I think you can consider him like a poor man's Zay Flowers.
Okay.
I mean, he's not. I mean, this is tough to say because Zay Flowers is a really good receiver. I mean, he is probably top 10, and Mooney is maybe top 50, if that, this season. But he is very shifty. He in the same kind of way that Zay Flowers is, and he does have that speed to take things over the top. He does a good job of finding the openings in zone coverage, which I don't expect the Broncos to be doing a lot of against the Falcons. So that element kind of takes it is kind of moot a little bit. But yeah, I mean, a poor man Zay Flowers. I think that's a fair enough comparison to make.
I wasn't really a fan of. I'm fond of Zay Flowers as a player, of course. I didn't really appreciate how he did his boy Kyle Hamilton, who dropped that interception. Have you seen the video?
Mm-hmm.
Him like talking trash to him on the plane or the bus, whatever. And I feel like you can talk trash to each other. You can razz each other, no biggie. I mean, it's your fault. You're the one that dropped it, so whatever. But I felt like he was trying to humiliate him, and I didn't really appreciate that. So yeah, I don't know. He seems like a guy. If he's like a Jerry Jeudy, if you're winning, he's a lovely guy to have in the
I can see
locker room. But if you're not, he's I don't know if I want to be around him. Besides that, so we also talked about somebody else is bringing this. Riley Moss seems like he's been a mixed bag this season. I think he's been pretty consistent. I think it's the Zay Flowers and the Worthies. I think those are the guys he's going to have issues with. Those are the guys everybody's gonna have issues with. He's gonna need to learn how to like maybe get a little more, improve his football IQ to be in better places, to not get beat as bad as he has. But I think they're more purely just speed that he's getting beat on. It's not really like they're running the greatest routes, I guess. I don't know. Nothing that's like setting themselves apart besides the speed. Do you think that it's just the speed that's really hampering him, or is it just growing pains, whatever? It's more than just the speed.
I mean, Riley Moss has plenty of speed. It's just he bites. He can be a little bit aggressive when it comes to double moves, and that I think is what has been getting him a little bit more. He sees that stutter step inside, and it's just ends up being a go route, stutter and go. And he kind of jumps a little bit, and that leaves that room over there. But I mean, he's had a really good season so far. He's had 3 games where he's allowed more than 50 yards receiving. With only, I mean, the Panthers was the most at 94, and a lot of that came towards the end of the game when they were kind of changing up a little bit what they were doing. And then, the Saints and the Chargers, those are the other 2 games where he allowed over 70 or allowed more than 50. Sorry. And Seahawks. I missed the Seahawks game. So 4 games he's allowed over 50 yards, and the rest he's been keeping under that. So it's been, I don't want to say it's been super consistent, but because there has been such a high variance of these games. But I mean, for the most part, he's doing well. He has, I mean, talking about yards allowed, he also has 4 games with a positive coverage EPA allowed, with the highest being 9.8, which was against the Panthers in one of the 2 games where he's allowed a touchdown. So he's done well. I think that there's some growing pains with it. I think that there are some issues with some of the different things Vance Joseph has called throughout the season when they have gone away from that man stuff a little bit, or when they've had to deal with, a little bit of changes in the secondary because PJ Locke was hurt and missed a couple games there. So I think these are things that you kind of expect during his first year starting, and I wouldn't be surprised if next year we get a significantly better version of him.
Hopefully it's not like a Mathis, because Mathis had a bad start to the season, finished well, and then just kind of, I don't know what happened after that. The last key to the match, or actually another matchup we could talk about is our defensive line, our pass rush against the the offensive line of the Atlanta Falcons. And Stu is talking about right here. How many sacks do you think we're going to get against Cousins? I know we had 4 sacks against KC in the last game. We hit him 9 times. The game before that, I think we had maybe 1 or none. I can't remember against Lamar. One of them, it could have been a sack, whatever, but they turned it into a tackle for loss because it was a mix-up on the play, which ended Bonito's.
It was the option play where Derrick Henry ran the wrong way.
Yeah.
So it was considered a run play, so not a sack on Lamar Jackson.
Which is, come on. Especially if that's part of your contract.
Yeah.
But it's so hard to get Lamar Jackson down. It should be a sack no matter where you tackle him. But yeah, I don't know. Well, I'm thinking maybe 4 sacks, 4 plus 1, maybe 5 sacks. I'm doing it like the, what's it called? Spades, the books, 4 plus 1. That's what I'm going to get. What about yourself? How many sacks do you think they get on Kirk Cousins?
So to get there, a lot of numbers coming your way. Okay. Denver Broncos average time to pressure is 2.68 seconds. Kirk Cousins' average time to throw is 2.75 seconds. Now, the Atlanta Falcons offensive line, they are allowing, which he has the 12th fastest average time to throw, by the way. The Atlanta Falcons are allowing the 8th highest quarterback pressure rate. They're 38.4% of the time they're allowing a pressure. But in terms of sack percentage, they are 7th lowest at 5.6%. They allow a lot of pressures. Kirk Cousins doesn't get sacked a lot. I mean, he can move around in the pocket, has that subtle footwork that can keep him clean a little bit. Mm-hmm. But what really protects him is how quickly he will get that ball out. He is not afraid to, I'm feeling a little bit of pressure. There's my running back. I'm getting the ball out quickly. Like he does such a good job with that. That is what has made him such a quality quarterback for years in the NFL, is he never has really taken a whole lot of sacks, especially after he got out of Washington where their offensive line was so bad. Mm-hmm. For me, I think that if the Broncos can sack him 4 times, then I would put it at a 90+% chance, 90 to 95% chance they win if they can sack him 4 times. Because when you start to sack Kirk Cousins, he starts to kind of force throws a little bit more, and that can lead to interceptions, that can lead to takeaways, that can lead to incompletions, that, loss of down, obviously. That just leads to mistakes from the offense. But what's more than that is this Falcons offense, if you can put them behind schedule, they are not very good. They struggle to make up for it. They are very much we need to stay on schedule in order to be a clean, efficient, moving offense. As soon as we get behind, well, things start to struggle a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And that is part of why, getting 4 sacks, you're putting them behind schedule. You want to get them, you want to get them into 3rd and 7+, and they really struggle converting those kinds of 3rd downs. A lot of teams just have struggled to get them in that kind of situation. I think the Broncos have a good chance of doing that.
Yeah, it looks like Sammy thinks that Bonito's going to get a sack and a half. Zach Allen maybe a sack and a half. Or a sack for Zach Allen, a sack and a half for John Franklin Myers. That'd be nice. Jeez. John Franklin Myers is playing pretty well this year.
Yeah, he's really come along. I mean, first, 2 or 3 games he played, he didn't do – I mean, he had, I think, 1 sack in those 4 games. Granted, he missed the majority of the second game against the Steelers. But he's really come along strong over the last couple weeks. Did a lot of what – didn't always show up on the box score, in the stats in those first couple games, but now he's exploding a little bit more often, which is nice because that's needed, especially as teams are starting to shift their focus to Zach Allen, and he's starting to face double teams at a little bit of a higher rate than he was earlier in the season.
Yeah, it's nice. It's definitely a good thing for Zach Allen to have another guy on the other side, to where, we're setting down Zach Allen, and it's like, but John Franklin Myers is sacked their quarterback. Yeah. We need to spread it out more. We can't just put so much emphasis on Zach Allen anymore. And we had some quotes today from Sean Payton on his interview. He had a press conference earlier, and they're talking about Brandon Jones. And they asked him, like, what gave you the confidence to take Brandon Jones, who was just a play every here and there guy, to an every down kind of player? Like, what did you see in him that made you think he could do that? Um, they said that he talked about how his football IQ was extremely high, and they talked about how our system is and how his set of tools are and how they just blended together perfectly. So that was really cool to see. I really love when you see those players when they pick up those players. You're like, who is this dude?
Mm-hmm.
And then by the end of the year, you're like, that guy's a piece of the team. It's a valuable piece of the team, like Stewart was in our Super Bowl years.
Yeah. With Brandon Jones, I mean, it's great to see, and it's great that they had that confidence in it because, man, he was basically the third safety there in Miami for his career. And when he got more snaps, the worse he did. So that was, for me especially, that was a big area of concern of, okay, we just signed this guy. He's going to be a starter. And when he gets more snaps, he does worse. But the way he was used in Miami is very different than the way he is being used here. And throughout the offseason, it was a little bit more difficult to kind of figure out what the Broncos were going to be doing defensively, especially in coverage, because of all that went on for last season. Was Sean Payton going to force Vance Joseph to do this type of defense that Vance Joseph doesn't really do?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't really do. What we started last season with is Vance Joseph going to stick with what he does well, which was the smart thing to do and what they ultimately did and how they finished the season strong. So there was a lot of concern there. Part of it was, will they mix and match a little bit more? So we weren't quite sure, but sticking with this man coverage defense, using the safeties how they are, is really taking pressure off of Brandon Jones a little bit to where he's doing something that fits his style of play more than anything he was really asked to do in Miami outside of being a box safety, because that's the majority of what he did in Miami until his role had to be expanded because of injuries and he had to play a little bit more, some single high coverage type things there over the years, which is really what dragged down his play.
Yeah, it's nice to see him really shine in this defense. Another question they were talking about teaching, what they could do to teach Bo Nix on his technique to avoid those gigantic sacks. That's why I think that was another version that they talked about. It sounded dirty. That's another version. Or that's another reason why they, when you were talking about how they played it safe in the end, just the two huge sacks. They just didn't want to get knocked out of field goal range.
Yeah.
Because one of them, you could see where he learned from one of those sacks. They come with the extra rushers. He kind of bails to the right, and then he starts bailing to the left, and that's when he gets sacked. The second time, actually, he initially just steps back and then takes off running. The second time they run that same type of play later in the game, he takes off running immediately and buys himself like that extra couple seconds. But it doesn't work out in that play either. But he learned from the play before. I think he saw that look and he knew he had to get out of there just if he needed that extra time. I think they actually dropped some of those guys into coverage anyway, so it didn't really even need to happen. But Sean Payton was talking about what did he say? He says, I just lost it. Essentially, you can't teach. Don't try to teach too much at something that they excel at. So just let them figure it out themselves. Essentially, as long as they don't go too bad with it, kind of let them figure it out themselves, because you just don't want to take away a weapon that's so valuable for him with his legs, and because he's too worried about not being aggressive enough with his legs, I guess.
Yeah, and my thing is I fully get what he's saying, and I agree with it. I would just be working on him as when it's not there, get out of the tackle box, throw the ball away. If it's not there, you got to learn that balance of trying to do too much that you hurt your team and just accepting a loss of down. I mean, even if it's third down, it is still better for them if it's, say you're on your own 40, it's third down, you take that, you just take the loss of down, fourth down, you're punting from the 40 instead of taking that 17-yard sack that he took, and now it's fourth and 34 or something, 37, something whatever it was. It's just got to learn and take that balance, and that is the biggest thing that I would work on teaching him. not just find that balance of knowing when to get rid of the ball, get out of the tackle box, and just accept the loss of down.
It seems like too when you do those plays where you kind of try to scramble, and then you're like 10 yards further back, that you're gonna try even harder to get out of that, and that's where the turnovers happen. That's where your arm is kind of swinging out here as you're trying to run. Somebody hits it, ball goes out, you go to grab it. Somebody grabs your leg, you can't get to it. Somebody just picks it up and walks in for a touchdown. Yeah, you got to be Peyton Manning with it. Yeah. You see the plays over, just fall down. I mean, him maybe Bo Nix, you try to take a step forward, whatever. Maybe you can turn it into like a 1 or 2 yard run, whatever. But like, yeah, you can't because you're not gonna convert those seconds and 27s and 31s. Like, you're essentially just trying to get back to the line of scrimmage or have a decent punt to where you can push him back on their side.
And just I finally found him and pulled it up and everything. One of them was on first down, so he went from 1st and 10 to 2nd and 27.
That's when I was thinking.
And then you end up punting on 4th and 22. Like, just get out of there and get the ball out, get it, throw it out of bounds, and now you have 2nd and 10 instead of 2nd and 27. Don't put your team behind. And the other one was a 3rd down where they were punting. They were at the Kansas City 44, and then they take a 16-yard sack, and now it's 4th and 27 at your own 40. You just it's those kind of things. Is like, it'd be better to be punting from the 44-yard line. Field goal is not likely there, but had that been a game-winning situation, you gotta kick a field goal here to win it, then you don't want to be pushed back 16 yards. You want to be there at the 44 and going for a 60-yarder, which I don't think he has a leg to make it, but it's still, you at least have a chance instead of getting pushed back. So again, it's just got to get that ingrained in him that sometimes there is find that fine line of not trying to do too much.
Definitely. It's I don't know. There's only a few players where it's more of the time it's going to help you than it's going to hurt you. Most of the time it's always going to hurt you when you try to do that extra stuff like that. You just have to be clearly better than the other players athletic wise and just your IQ and stuff like that. Like a Lamar Jackson can do stuff like that, or Patrick Mahomes can do stuff like that. But it's just very few quarterbacks that can turn that situation into an explosive play. Maybe in time he can, but right now he needs to play a little safer with that situation. Also, they talked about Josh Reynolds being back, and Sean Payton said it's really good to see him back. It was really good for the team. Everybody was happy to have him back. I'm not sure, is he playing in this game?
No, they didn't activate him off injured reserve for this. He is out for this game along with Drew Sanders and Delarian Turniel, who are the only 3 players out for the Broncos in this one.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about the injury report. It's the entire Falcons team. It's insane. So some of the keys to victory I was to talk about was the turnover battle. We have to win the turnover battle.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Our offense isn't explosive enough to lose the turnover battle and overcome it with that. We can, but it's just like you really can't depend on that.
I would say that the offense isn't consistent enough, because this is actually one of the most explosive offenses in the NFL. They just have struggled to do things that aren't explosive plays. Mm-hmm. You got to have, again, balance in all things. Football, life, you got to find balance. This offense doesn't have that balance for it to where they can, lose the turnover battle and not have to rely on those explosive plays to get themselves back into it or make up for it. And they can do a little some of these other things and then open up that explosive play. Just not quite there yet with this offense. We're getting closer. We're starting to see more consistency from the passing game. The running game is still as inconsistent as ever. But yeah, you can't lose it's a general rule. You lose the turnover battle, you lose the game. Mm-hmm. Like, it's one of the main things for every single coach in the NFL ever. And basketball too. If you lose a turnover battle, you're likely to lose the game. It's just the way sports are.
Yeah, basketball for sure. It seems like there's some extremely talented basketball teams that if they turn the ball over too much, it doesn't matter who they are in the court. They're going to lose that. What was another one? the costly penalties, the big sacks. We got to eliminate those. Yeah, so I think Bo will figure that out. He might still get sacks here and there, but I think his average loss of yards per sack will go down as the year goes on.
Yeah.
Because I think he's going to either go down or he's going to try to make a little bit make it a less of a loss, I guess. Yeah. Whatever. Make it
instead of 10 plus yard losses, even if it's him escaping run and then running out of bounds, because he's done this a couple times for like a yard or two loss. That is still better than 10 plus yards being lost. And him, I think that's, again, one area that he's got to learn is that just can't consistently lose 10 yards. 6 yards or less, that's where you can be not necessarily comfortable with, but fine with, I guess, would be the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And just getting to that point.
Look at Rodney Garcia. He needs to make it out to Denver to go to a game next year. It'll be his first one. Well, yeah,
make it the meet and greet one.
Yeah, come to the
whenever that is.
You can meet us. We can all was it Nick brought cookies last time. His mom made cookies.
Yeah, Nick's mom is the cookie lady.
They were delicious too. They were like chocolate chip, but they had something else in there.
Yeah, they made my fat self really happy.
Like
I was struggling, man. I mean, I've been dieting. I've been losing weight. I haven't been eating a whole lot of sweets, and especially up at that time. And then I get this really delicious cookie, and then Nick's dad was going around saying, "Hey, we have extras if you want it." I actually pulled Nick aside. I was like, "Dude, I'm not liking your dad right now. He's tempting me."
Yeah, that was a good time. I had a great time meeting everybody.
Yeah, it's always
Roddy, come out to the game. We'll let you guys know next year, I guess, for the meet and greet. We usually give a pretty big heads up, like months and months in advance.
Basically, as soon as we know, like, we'll start talking about. I think it's normally set by May or June, and we'll start talking about it, and on the shows on May and June, or at least I will.
Yeah, if you need to know any places to go while you're there, just hit me up on Twitter, and I'll let you know. So questions for the entering this game, I have. Can Estime have another productive game? He played pretty well last game. He had some runs that reminded me of Javonte.
He was averaging 4.4, basically 4.5 yards per carry until the final 3 carries, where he picked up, it was either 3 carries for 4 yards or 4 carries for 5 yards. And so he finishes the game with 3.8 yards per carry, which isn't ideal. It's not terrible, but it's not ideal, because ideal is you want 4 or more. 3.3 is the minimum. 3.8 somewhat in between. So yeah, he had a really good game. And it was just, when they went to fully running out the clock, that we're going to run every single down instead of, trying to take pressure off that, or open up the defense a little bit more, or try to take advantage of this aggressive defense, stacking the line with a quick throw over, going for the touchdown instead of playing for the field goal like they did. I will not stop griping about that. But yeah, I mean, he had a really good game, which was nice. And hopefully we can see that from him, because we got to find consistency in this running game. It has been lacking. I am tired of seeing this rushing offense do well one game only to look the complete opposite the next. And that's how it's been most of the season.
Are they going to try to make not all the way, but Mims into like a Ty Montgomery kind of situation where he's going to get like 3 to 5 rushing attempts a game?
I'd like to see him kind of, Ty Montgomery, Cordell Patterson kind of take that kind of route. I'd like to see that happen.
You got to get,
for whatever reason, he's not getting it at wide receiver.
Yeah, I feel like he's at least going to get you that 3 to 5 yard carry, whatever, like that or a 4 to 5 yard carry that you want on those end routes. And then maybe every once in a while he throws the ball, because Sean Payton likes to do the trick plays. So,
and on that note of him not making a receiver, to be clear, I think it's obvious that he's not. His role on offense has been extremely limited, especially as a wide receiver all season long. He's been surpassed by Troy Franklin, who many people, once this roster was set, was like, Troy Franklin's going to be basically redshirted this year. He's going to be a healthy scratch unless injuries pop up. And Troy Franklin surpassed him as seeing a role on offense. Devon Vele, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Cortland Sutton, obviously a couple of those guys make sense, but Marvin Mims doesn't really have a role as a wide receiver. So yeah, try to find him a role at running back. Now, real quick, I have a question for you because I just did an article on this, and I'm curious your thoughts. Phil McLaughlin coming in. Do we let Bolles go, tag him, or try to restructure him if possible? To be clear, he's on the final year of his deal, so you can't really restructure him. You can either extend him, tag him, or let him walk.
I guess it all depends on how deep this draft class is, because we're going to have a draft pick later in the draft. It's not going to be top 10. So is there a serviceable left tackle that you would want to replace him with to save that money to spend elsewhere, I guess?
So in my humble, not so humble opinion, the two people that are talked about as the top tackles in this class should be moved into guard. One of the guys who was starting to rise up and be like, okay, this is a left tackle I can be confident in, got hurt and is out for the season. And then there's another guy who I like as a left tackle, but he's more of a right tackle playing left tackle in college, or NFL right tackle playing left tackle in college.
Oh, okay.
I don't really think there's a serviceable left tackle that you can find to step in next season as a rookie to replace Bolles, personally.
It's most likely an additional year, whatever. Because what do they have? That guy out of Texas, Banks? Is he?
He's a guy that I think should be moved into guard. Banks, yeah.
Yeah.
And then Will Campbell out of LSU. Those are the general view of the top two tackles in this class.
Yeah, and then CU's got a guy, but he's still like 2 years away. At Jordan Seaton, the number one tackle in the country out of high school, whatever. But yeah, that's a rough one because that's a lot of money, but it's an extremely important position. The only thing people were floating I don't know how McGlinchey is on left tackle. If you would push him to there, and then Alex Majeski, whatever, roll him up at right. I most likely would Bolles, like you said, Bolles is the best answer just to keep him around. But
Mike McGlinchey hasn't played left tackle since like 2016 or 2017 in college. Alex Palczewski has never played left tackle, even in college. And I mean, there's Matt Pert, but are you going to go from Bolles to Matt Pert? I mean, if you're wanting to let Bolles go and you're wanting to go cheaper there, then fine, go Matt Pert and get a drafted developmental tackle in the second round or so. That could be a route to go. I personally would extend him. I would come up to him with a 3-year deal for $60 to $66 million. And total money, average of 20 to 22 million per year, which puts him in line with where his play has been this year. He's been a top 10 tackle, but not quite top 5. And with how tackles are getting paid, it puts him there. And I would structure it as 2 years, and then we'll see about the third.
Okay. Yeah, I was more talking about the McGlinchey to the left, but like you were saying, he hadn't played it for such a long time. Because I wouldn't put those other guys. I feel like that's too valuable of a position to have just anybody out there, even if they are playing well, outplaying whatever they were expected to play. But yeah, it's just so much money over there.
It is.
I want to shed so much money. They have the space of this team, at least on the offensive side.
I mean, and then also you talk about another thing with this is how well the offensive line has been doing. They are top 10 in almost every single analytic for pass blocking, and then run blocking. They're in the top 16. Most of them in the top 12. I think there's one that has them at like 15. You want to keep that unit together. You don't want to sit there and have your now rookie quarterback entering his second year with a rookie left tackle. So I think somebody in here, William Catalano, extend him 2 or 3 years on a decent deal, draft another left tackle in the next 2 years, sit behind him, and there you go. This is the route that I would go. Okay. I would draft the tackle in like the second or third round this year, see how he goes, and then even next year for the 2026 draft, I'd be looking at doing the same thing, because after the 2026 season, you can then move on from Mike McGlinchey. And there you go. You can have 2 tackles, still cost control for a couple of years that you can sit and grow with, and then you have to pay them out, and there you go, rinse and repeat. If only it were that easy, because they got to develop. But
Bolles isn't getting any younger. How old is Bolles?
He's either turning 33 in May or turning 34 in May. I can't remember which one.
Right?
Yeah.
Because I remember Andrew Whitworth was like, this guy had been in the league forever, and he was like 34, 35, whatever.
Didn't he play until he was like 41?
Something like, yeah, he played forever. I know he retired with the Rams, I think, after they won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I remember we were like kicking the tires on him or thinking about it because he played on the Bengals.
Yeah. Before he went to the Rams that year.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, Bolles is already that old because he didn't, but he came in at 24, 27, or I can't remember.
I think he came in at 25.
25, okay.
Yeah.
So their run game, they got Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, 2 explosive backs. Especially Bijan Robinson, he could do everything. I remember seeing this slow motion play where it was last year where they like toss him the ball, but it's kind of behind him, and he's on the goal line and he goes behind his back, switches hands, and like jukes somebody out and goes in for a touchdown or something like that. And it's all in slow motion. I'm like, oh my God, how did he do that? It was insane. So we have to wrap him up. We can't let him break tackles. Once he breaks that first tackle, he could be gone. Tyler Algier is one of the guys who can wear us down. He can play really well too. I wouldn't mind having him on the team. He's definitely capable of being a 1,000-yard back if he's a starter.
Yeah.
So how do you think we handled them? I know we have the 5th ranked defense in the rushing.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, they ranked 5 in the NFL in average yards per attempt and number 2 in the league yards before contact. So they're hitting these guys right away, apparently. So
yeah, I mean, you can see they're explosive and getting behind the line of scrimmage and disrupting plays early. I mean, this is a running game that you are going to struggle to stop completely. You just got to limit them.
Mm-hmm.
And you really have to limit what they can do in the passing game. Again, you want to sack Kirk Cousins, but he gets the ball out quickly and he's not afraid to dump it off to his running backs and let them playmakers make plays. So when he does that, you got to be ready to have somebody there to meet them out and secure the tackle to keep a big play coming from that and just limiting what they can do in all phases. Easier said than done.
Mm-hmm.
But with the way this Broncos defense is built, I think they have a really good chance of being able to do that.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how they're going to match up against him. I've always been a fan of Bijan and Tyler Algier. So we'll see. I think we can. I think Zach Allen, I think John Franklin Myers, Malcolm Roach. They're going to make it a long day for those guys. So we have some injuries. Like we were talking about the injury report earlier and how Denver, we have a couple. Right? We have Josh Reynolds is going to be out. Drew Sanders and Darian Turner, like you were talking about earlier. Brandon Jones is questionable with the abdomen injury. Everybody
but it sounds
else,
like he'll play.
Oh, okay.
It sounds like Brandon Jones will play. Yeah.
Oh, and also it was really nice to see PJ Locke back. It's a big difference. He was playing pretty well. He was playing pretty hard nosed. I really enjoyed watching him in that last game.
Yeah. And it's worth noting
else,
It's worth noting that the 3 guys out for Denver, one's on injured reserve still, and the other 2 are still on the physically unable to perform list. So it's nobody that is actively counting against the 53-man roster at the moment.
That's insane, right? That's like so lucky. 1, 2, 3.
8 guys out for the Falcons.
There's like 17 on the injury report.
Yeah, they have a lot, and 8 of them are out, including their number 2 and number 3 corner.
Mike Hughes
and D. Alford.
Okay. Looks like Chris Lindstrom was having some issues with his knees. He was limited practice, but he was a limited participant, but he was full participant in Friday.
Yeah.
Which I don't know. If you lose him, he's like the best guard in the league.
Yeah, he's one of the best guards in the league. Yeah.
And then it turns in, then Zach Allen might have a field day after that.
And also, I mean, I mentioned the number 2 and number 3 corner for the Falcons being out. Most of the guys out are guys who see the field. Troy Anderson, he's one of their starting linebackers. JD Bertrand he's a rotational linebacker that barely has played. James Smith-Williams is it's like their 4th rusher of their rotation.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Taquan Graham is like their 4th or 5th defensive lineman on their rotation. And so they're missing key guys on their defense, especially, that are out for this game, which this is a bad defense, and this opens the door even more for the Broncos to have a good game.
And the two of them have injuries that are like scary ones that it's really hard to come back from, like push yourself with Darnell Mooney and Grady Jarrett, where they have Achilles injuries. Sometimes I see that in basketball, they're like, oh, it's just like kind of strained, whatever, they'll be fine, and then it tears.
Yeah,
they're done for the season, if not more. So hopefully our guys all stay healthy. Hopefully their guys stay healthy, and we beat the crap out of them.
And how crazy it is that 2 years ago we had the most players on injured reserve. We were one of the most games lost to injury, as in game, like starters missing time due to injury. And last year too, we were among the best, and if not the best. Like, insane turnaround. Some of that obviously goes to moving on from players who you often see injured, but it's also, somebody came in. Roddy, give credit to our training staff for having us healthy all season. The training staff and the medical staff. I mean, the medical staff is doing a really good job of, when guys do get banged up, helping them with their rehab and the recovery. The training staff to help keeping these guys' bodies ready. I know, who was it? Lauren Landau was his name, right? Yeah. I did a big deep dive into him and everything. And man, the number of injuries that happened after he changed were insane. It's unlike anything that had been seen before in the NFL when you're switching out your training staff like that. And it's just a lot of it was soft tissue injuries. Like, we still had our fake injuries, but we had these lingering soft tissue injuries that were sitting there. And that is a result of training issues that you have, because you're either pushing your body too far, that it just lingers, or they're damaging it and not getting it prepared properly, whatever the case may be. Soft tissue injuries, that's a training issue. And now that Lauren Landau's gone, we're not having it quite that much. Like, I know there's a lot of people that wanted to defend him and what he did, but I mean, there's no arguing with the results of what the changes that have been made.
Yeah, I remember the last couple of years, Zach and Chad talking about it with the soft tissue injuries, and how after a while it wasn't on the players anymore. It was starting to go towards the training staff, the blame for that. You talked about you had an article out. Did it come out this week or today?
The injury article. This was in like 2020 that I wrote it.
Oh, okay.
I did the deep dive. It was either 2020 or 2021, one of those years where we were really beat up and everything. And I just saw a lot of people defending Lauren Landau, and it's like, no. So I just did all this research and dug into it and wrote it up.
Oh, look at Rodney has a crazy, not crazy, but it makes you think. Isn't it crazy that Pat Shurmur is a play caller for the CU Buffs, and they've been playing pretty well. Their offenses, I mean, they're extremely talented skill players and quarterback, but he's got their pass coverage a little better, and they're an explosive team.
Was that a slight dig at Drew Lock there? The talent at quarterback.
I don't know. I think it's the Pat Shurmur dig in general, because he's kind of overrated everywhere he went.
He is.
He's been around coaching forever.
Been around for a while, but yeah. So we got to get out of here soon. What's your score prediction for this game?
So my score prediction, I got Broncos taking it 23-17. Nothing too crazy, whatever. But I feel like our defense is going to keep them frustrated. They're not going to be able to get a really good rhythm. They might get a drive here and a drive there, but besides that, it's just going to be punt all day for the Falcons. Assuming the defense plays to their capability, essentially.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly. I think I had it 33-16 in favor of the Broncos. I think the defense will have a really good game against it, especially, Kirk Cousins. He's got that banged up shoulder a little bit. I think they'll allow him into the end zone once. The rest they'll be kept to field goal, 3 field goals. And then the Broncos offense they play one of their better games. I mean, this is not a good defense. They're really beat up. And the way that the Broncos match up for them offensively is very much in the Broncos' favor. Bo Nix, he's done a good job of protecting the ball. Still have to do that against Jesse Bates and Justin Simmons. And I think that they will do what they need to protect the ball, move the ball, and put points on the board.
Yeah, I did see your article. It's 33-16. Is that what you said?
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
Yeah. That would be nice. It's really nice to see 200-yard games over and over. I remember we had spoiled with 300-yard games and whatever Peyton Manning was doing. And now we'll do anything to get those 200-yard games. We have a couple articles. What's that?
Sorry. I just want to talk about the importance of winning this game. So the Broncos currently sit, depending on where you look at, 34 to 37% chance of making the playoffs. If they lose this game, they drop to, I believe, if I remember correctly, they drop to under 25% chance to make the playoffs, even though this isn't a divisional game. But if they win, they move up to about 40. Obviously, the numbers can change a little bit based on other games and how they turn out. Chargers, Bengals, those are 2 teams that you want to root for whoever they're playing against. You want those 2 teams to lose. So a lot of importance for them to win this game. It would be extremely difficult for them to lose this game with the 3 straight losses and still make the playoffs.
I almost feel like if they lose this game, they don't deserve to go to the playoffs.
Yeah, I can see that.
They're just not a playoff-worthy team if they don't win this game. I think that I have faith in them, though. I think that Champagne's coaching them pretty well to be a pretty resilient team, never to hang their heads, to keep fighting. Their defense is they're playing for each other. The offense is finally starting to catch up with them, so there's not those internal fights. I don't know. I really see them playing I think they'll play really well in this game.
And Ronnie Garcia coming in saying, "Go Chargers!" The Chargers and the Bengals played this weekend as well. You want the Bengals to win. You want the Bengals to beat the Chargers, because the Broncos, they still play both of these teams, but a Chargers win puts them a game ahead. It puts them at 7 wins, whereas a Bengals win, they are still a win behind. They will only be at 5 wins, whereas the Chargers are still at 6 wins. So we want a Bengals win over the Chargers this weekend.
We got Rodney Garcia says, oh no. Oh, I just had that. He said that Shadur is going to the Raiders. So is Dion. I don't think Dion's going anywhere. I think him and the athletic director for CU are boys. He really likes it down there, but we never know. Shadur, I don't know if he goes I hope he doesn't go to the Raiders. I'm hoping he goes to the Giants.
The Giants would be fun. Real quick, I want to grab this because I don't think we grabbed it earlier. Eric Flynn came in with some stars on Facebook earlier. I can't remember if it got flashed or not. It was just a blank message, so we may have skipped over it. So I apologize for that. He says 31-13. Bo Nix throws 3 touchdowns and special teams gets a blocked kick this week. That would be great to see a blocked kick on special teams.
That would be awesome.
So
and you know it'd be cool. It'd be against Justin Simmons, who got our last block, I think.
Yeah.
When he jumped over the Saints guy.
Yeah.
And the last thing I had for you guys is we got some articles out this week, out today for sure. Our boss man Chad Johnson. Chad Jensen. This one's about the Falcons rolled out for the game. 3 big Falcons rolled out for the game. Nick Kendall has went out as Garrett Bolles. Is he a secret superstar making the underrated team, the all underrated team? 3 keys to victory by Luke Patterson. And then new metrics reveal Bo Nix is a franchise quarterback by our boy Thomas Hall. I also, in the end of the day, end of the show, I did see a PFF episode where they were supposed to have Brandon Perna on there later. Couldn't find the episode though, so if you guys find it, let me know. Thought that'd be kind of cool. It's really cool to see how he's grown so much. in the sports world, Brandon Perna. I know him
from back in the day when he was a colleague. I don't know if you were with us at the time,
no,
but yeah, he was a colleague of ours back in the day. He and a guy named Jake Marcin got Chad on the podcast kick.
yeah, he talked when I first got hired on. Chad talked about that and how. Yeah, and I remember he even came on our show one time, and that's when I was watching. The super chats went to the roof because people just love that guy. His pre-tape stuff is amazing. It's so funny.
So in D&D, I don't know how much you know about it. You have a charisma stat. Brandon Perna's charisma stat is like 30, and 20 is typically like, where you can go. He's at like a 30. He is so charismatic.
Yeah. All right. Well,
we ready for me to run us out of here?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Thank you guys for tuning in to the Dove Valley Deep Divers. We appreciate it. We appreciate all of your guys' support, both, in super chats and joining in the comment section. If you want, you can help us out in multiple different ways. You can obviously subscribe, like, and share as you see on the ticker at the bottom of your screen, or as you hear me talking about if you're listening to this after the fact. That helps us so much with the algorithms on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, Facebook, X, Blue Sky, wherever you happen to be. It is such a boost for the algorithms and helps us get out in front of more people. It is the best way you can help us with, without, financial commitment. Speaking of Spotify and Apple Podcasts, make sure you go there and leave a 5-star review for a chance to win some of as our boss Chad Jensen likes to say, or Chad Johnson, I should say now, to win some swag each month. You can get some stuff like this hat. There's shirts, there's sweatshirts, there's cups, all mugs, all sorts of stuff here. And you can follow us on Instagram at Mile High Huddle with an underscore between mile and high and huddle. You can go to mhhmerch.com to get your swag on, or your merch, get the merchandise. Again, the hats and stuff like that, the shirts, all of this stuff. That's where you can find it. Make sure you're following us on Facebook.com at /Mile High Huddle Pod or /Mile High Huddle. You can follow us on Twitter, or as the thing now says, X, at Mile High Huddle. You can also follow the Dove Valley Deep Divers specific Twitter account at DVDD_pod. You can follow the MHH pod on Twitter as well. And this is one of the many Mile High Huddle podcasts. And again, we thank you for watching us. I am your co-host, Erick Trickel. You can follow me on Twitter or on Blue Sky, which I just finally created, at Erick Trickel on both of those. And you can follow the host here, Kenneth Booker, at Kenneth_MHH. Thank you guys for your support. Thank you guys for tuning in week out. We appreciate it so much. Hope you guys are having a wonderful time, wonderful holiday season. Before we get out of here, any last words, Kenneth?
So there is an autograph signing if you are in Colorado. I know it's somewhat of a rival player, I guess, but Bo Jackson is going to be in Parker, Colorado this weekend for autograph signings. You can hate him because he was a Raider, but he was a phenomenal athlete. Just say you're going there, just get a something Royal signed, Kansas City Royals. Actually, no, you can't even do that because Patrick Mahomes owns those guys too. But he's going to be here, so that's kind of neat. The Jake Paul fight and Mike Tyson is going on. The fight's not going on right now, but the fights are going on.
Yeah,
it's pretty prelim. So, who you can put it in the chat? Who you think is going to win, Tyson or Jake Paul? I want Tyson to win. I don't know though. He's really old and he's a lot slower than he used to be. We'll see. We're holding out for Mike Tyson. And then I guess that's it for the day. Everybody just have a great weekend. Have a safe weekend. Like we always say, don't drink and drive. If you're going to the game on Sunday, get loud, get crazy. Not too crazy, of course. But
don't go crazy enough to where you get kicked out.
And thanks again for everybody for any kind of super chats, likes, or shares. I truly appreciate it. That's really cool, you guys. Just to help us grow our community and just get our name and our friendship, our friend group, just bigger and bigger. Because it's not all about just sports. A lot of us do a lot of supportive stuff for each other too when we're going through rough times, and I really appreciate that in here. And that's really cool how everybody cares about each other, like genuinely cares. So That's all I got. You got anything, Aaron?
Yeah, Rodney Garcia coming in asking if the wolf stuffed animal on the mic. It's one of those things that those little huggy ones my daughter picked out for me this last year when we went to the zoo. And I like to have little trinkets around of my family. I have a drawing that she did that's off to my right, and then I have little Legos that my wife got us that are us as a family. Even has our cat.
Oh wow,
That are in the
that's
thing.
really
So
cool.
little trinkets and stuff like that. To
Man, that
represent the
sounds like a
family
cool Christmas gift,
and
man.
break up all the Star Wars and the big old dragon that I have in here as well. So thank you guys in for watching in. As said, don't drink and drive. Stay safe this weekend. Be nice and compassionate, or how is it? Choose kindness and compassion, as my good friend Nick likes to say. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a wonderful weekend. And as always, go Broncos, right? Right?
Yeah, go Broncos.
Let's get back on the wins.
Definitely.